got a text message in our family group chat. Y'all got to see the new episode of South Park. You got to watch it before they take them off air. I was like, what in the world? So, of course, I did my research. And yeah.
Common sense ain't so common. So listen to Akilah, Akilah, Akilah.
We are back. So there's actually a good amount of information that we need to get into. So recently there's been a lot of talk about this controversial debut episode of season 27, South Park. And you know what? There's a reason why an episode like that can air in this time, in this era, and it couldn't have been aired in any point in America's history. No point before this time, no point before social media, no point at all would this have been able to air. Why is that? A lot of us are experiencing a universal shift in consciousness. For people to be able to express themselves in any which way they want to, the minute that thought comes in their minds, they can immediately post it via X, Threads, TikTok, whatever. This is that era. But this power, this ability to just say whatever is on your mind, coming from the highest seat in office all the way down to the teenager at the trailer park in Oklahoma. This is that time. There is no line that can't be crossed. There is no moral compass that has to be abided by, or there is no, so because of that, when you see shows like South Park and you see the audacity, right, of being able to take things and take messages to the edge. And when you think about South Park, the history of South Park, they've always done this. I knew about South Park since forever, but I didn't start watching South Park until I married my husband, because he likes that type of stuff. He thinks it's hilarious. He likes that type of comedy. So I've watched a few episodes with him, and I've noticed that, yes, they push the boundaries. They really go in on religion, on race, on gender, fluidity, on sexual orientation. They go in on everything, okay? And so this is not anything that's not typical of South Park. I think the shock and awe is at the fact that they are pushing it so far about the head of the country. And I feel as though when your leadership can drop F-bombs on national TV, when your leadership is on X saying whatever they want, when leadership is doing all of these things, what do you expect for those under the leadership to do? There's no lines that can't be crossed now. That's the mentality of a lot of people. And so, am I shocked? Not really. If you're studying what's going on in society, it's just shocking because it's such a popular show. It's a syndicated type of show. It's a major show. So of course there's talk of lawsuits, and y'all better watch it before they end up taking it down. You better watch it before they end up striking it. You better watch it before. And it's like, honestly, if you really understood that in America, there has always been countercultures. You have, of course, hip hop culture where it's, stick it to the man. You have rock culture where it's stick it to the man. And you have leftists. You have, so many different cultures that are a part of the American experience. And the writers of South Park clearly fall under the counterculture. Like, they clearly fall under those who want to stick it to the man, people who feel feel like it's good to push these boundaries, that it in some way is pushing America forward. Now, this goes two ways. There's a quote, and it goes like this: the bad leader is he who the people despise. The good leader is he the people praise. The great leader is he who the people say, we did it ourselves. This is a quote by Peter Senge. Because there is an opportunity like never before for there to be a lot of change and a lot of conscious shifting abilities, we need to, as a society, do better at focusing our energy on what we prefer, focusing our energy on what we do want. And the reason why we have to do this as a collective is because when you start learning about energy exchange, and when you start learning about the power of focus, and you start learning about how energy flows where your attention goes, when you start noticing that's how you really start to attract the things that you desire, you stop putting so much attention on all of the things that you despise. We as a community, we have to, and as a nation and as a collective consciousness on the planet, we have to start now putting our focus on what we desire. The reason why an episode like South Park season 27 could happen, that first episode, is because we also are in a society where it is the norm to focus so much on the things that we despise. And of course, we love to put humor on it because, yes, humor always takes the edge off. But when we really start getting to understand that also pushing the envelope is putting our energy into the things that we desire. For example, if you want financial freedom and financial abundance, what you focus on, you can't focus on lack. You can't focus on what you don't have. You have to put so much emphasis and so much attention on the things that you already have so that those things can expand. And so you start attracting even more things based on your gratitude. So in this society, and of course in America, we might call ourselves a civilized nation, but in truth, if you really look at the moral compass of the actual country, a lot of us are far more savage. And when I say savage, I'm not talking about the houses we live in, the infrastructures. I'm talking about the mindset, the inability to have a mind of our own, the inability to be in a place where we are not overcome by our low fleshly desires. Yeah. To me, in order to truly judge if a nation or if a society is civilized, you have to, one, look at the woman. How is the woman, one, being treated? How is she being educated? And how is her morality? That's one way to judge a civilization, is through the woman. Another way is just take a look around. Is it wars happening all the time? Is there constant murders? Is there constant violence? Is there constant, and of course, there's violence all over the world. But the reason why we can feel so comfortable, watching the things that we watch, is because it is in the very fabric of this country. We shouldn't be shocked by what we saw on South Park, because that is what society has been inching towards this whole time, especially since social media popped off, okay? Since TikTok and X and all of those popped off. It's only a shock to most people because it's a part of such a huge network. But for the most part, and of course, none of us will be shocked if they were taken off air because of the leadership, right? And so many people are proud, like, yeah, that's our right. As someone who lives in this country, you should be able to express yourself in whatever way, and stick to the man. And so, of course, you have that side of the fence as well. But in truth, like, this society is very savage. And there's more and more things that's coming out to prove and to show how savage this society truly is. I think about our children and things that were exposed to children back in the 40s and the 50s. They couldn't even see a belly button on TV. They couldn't see nobody shaking or gyrating. Of course, when it came to intimate scenes on TV, they would immediately turn it into like birds and bees for your imagination to take over for the rest of the scene. But now everything is on the table. There is no lines, okay? There is no standards, okay? So the only lines and the only standards are the ones that you get to create. The only lines, the only standards are the ones that are from the Most High, and it's really up to you to say, am I going to live by these standards? Am I going to be civilized? Am I going to be mannerable? Am I going to be moral? Am I going to be someone who's decent in society, or am I just going to go with the flow of society and allow all of these fleshly desires and fleshly thoughts come straight to the forefront in any manner that I desire for them to be, instead of handling these things in a way of civilization, or instead of focusing primarily on what it is that I desire for my country, for my government, for my family, for my community, for my church, for my mosque, putting all of your focus and your attention and your energy on what you want to see so that you can start attracting these things in your life. That's the only way to truly get the things that you desire. And I always will admire people, though, who call things out for what they are. And I always will admire shows and comedians and actors and singers and performers who really stand up for something, because a lot of times when we say things like put your focus and your energy on all of the things that you desire, some people translate that in their mind as ignore all of this tyranny, ignore all of this craziness that's happening in the world. That's not what it means at all. You should be able to, like what Doechii did at I think it was the Grammys, where she stood and said, there's stuff going on right outside of out of these walls, and we need to speak on it, and we need to speak on the type of corruption that's going on in our government and all of these things. It also is very important to be able to have the courage to speak up about these things. If there's a genocide going on around the world, it's important to speak up about that genocide. And it's also important to keep high civilization at the forefront, to keep your moral standards at the forefront, and to make what you desire your priority. And that in and of itself is all I'm trying to say. So stay tuned. I'll have some more episodes like this in the future. But yes, have a good one. Ta-ta. Peace.